All right, welcome back to House of Champions. There's some laughs going on right here. James Bench, fill in the viewers as we're watching along with the Europa League draw.
Barcelona versus Manchester United in the Europa League knockout rounds. Wow.
Unbelievable.
Wow. I keep telling you, this is the best competition in Europe. This is phenomenal. I mean, you know, we're kind of going through all these live. We've got Juventus out right now as well, which gives you a sense of the real talent. Pavel Nedved looks utterly terrified as he waits to see. I mean, he avoided Manchester United, but
James, he looks more relieved now that at least Man U and Barca are out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what a tie! Two of the three favourites, you would say, for the competition.
Come on, Juventus get a big draw.
Juventus against Nantes.
Oh. That's a shit. That's very Juventus, isn't it? To just kill the mood.
So they're happy with that.
I can't say I've seen a huge amount of Nantes. Juventus a step in the right direction. Obviously,
what about that Barcelona Manchester United tie real quickly before we get the other draws? I mean, that's a massive tie. Two teams obviously just trying to figure their way out right now. It's a cracking tie. This is probably the benefit you get from teams dropping down from the Champions League, right?
100%. Go on, James.
It seems quite unfair on Manchester United. I mean, like, you know, they were, I mean, in retrospect, they should have won their group, shouldn't they? They should have got that second goal against Real Sociedad. Yep. But, you know, I think you'll be hearing a few more of those familiar complaints that it's not fair that Champions League teams that don't reach the top two get rewarded by coming into another competition. Because I think Barcelona are quite strong favourites for this.
Sporting against Michelin was just drawn right there. Nigel, get your opinion on the Manchester United tie real quickly.
What a draw. What a draw. And I know, obviously, Ian, you're against them dropping in and they should be completely out of Europe in the sense of the Champions League, which it's subjective. It's down to anyone's opinion. But I think this is what is probably UEFA going to be happy with, what makes this competition special, and the whole revamped format of it keeps both competitions interesting and the fan base is there. That is a draw. Two historic clubs in Europe, worldwide fan bases. Everyone's probably licking their lips. I don't even think anyone's going to pay attention to the other draws, but you've got Barcelona, Manchester United, worldwide fan base clubs, both in a complete rebuild process where they've been financially mismanaged for a while now, and they're trying to find their foot again. What a draw that is.
Shakhtar have been drawn next, and they only have a few options. I don't know who they could get drawn against. I missed it. They've just drawn against Stade Rennes. Shakhtar against Stade Rennes.
I mean, they're one of the dark horses for me to win this whole competition.
Okay.
I know I got a bit carried away with them in the Champions League. And obviously we don't, I mean, especially with Ukrainian football teams, it's really hard to know what the situation will be in 3 months' time. But the talent is there, you know, not just Mudryk, but some of the other guys in that front line looked really special in this Champions League campaign.
Just before we get on to the rest of the draw there, if you're looking for a 1 month free Paramount Plus action, P Plus have a 1 month free trial, offer code UEFA 2022, and that is UEFA 22. Scan the QR code on the screen or follow the link in the description to get your 1 month free trial of Paramount Plus. Ajax have been drawn. They can go up against Roma, Union Berlin, or Monaco. Wow, that's going to be an interesting pick. Let's see who they get selected against. Ajax Amsterdam lost against PSV this weekend. Absolutely ruined my parlay. They get drawn against Union Berlin. So Ajax against Union Berlin, who just lost the lead of the Bundesliga this weekend. They got absolutely hammered by Xabi Alonso's Leverkusen by 5-0. Obviously, dealing in European competition is not easy for Union Berlin. They just simply don't have the depth to be able to deal in both competitions. But they've been amazing. Go ahead, James.
Do you think they'll be inclined to sort of throw more energy at the Europa League because, you know, they're not going to win the Bundesliga?
Could you imagine, though, James, if they could finish in the top 4 of the Bundesliga? Very well as possible, you know?
That's always the challenge. And you have this, obviously, with English teams, maybe the English teams that are at a higher level, don't you? Where it gets to that stage. West Ham had it last season, where
they're struggling this season.
You could throw a lot of bodies at getting top 4 or Europa League, but you probably can't do both. And that's
Leverkusen against Monaco. Sorry to interrupt you there, James. Leverkusen against Monaco.
I have to say, the big winners from this draw at the moment, even with ties like Leverkusen, Monaco, Ajax and Union Berlin, one of them knocking out the other, and of course Barcelona, Man United. This is great news for the teams that have already gone to the round of 16, and like especially the ones that have a real chance of winning, like Arsenal and Betis. They will be rubbing their their hands at this draw, won't they?
Wow. What about West Ham, mate?
They're not in that competition, mate. They're in the Conference League.
Yes, my bad.
But I mean, they would be as well.
They're in the Mickey Mouse one, Nigel. They're in the Mickey Mouse one. You know, big ears, Disney.
Ian, who's top of the German league?
Sevilla have been drawn next. They've got Roma or PSV Eindhoven. That's the potential options for them. So Sevilla against Roma or PSV. Go ahead, Nigel. Sorry.
Who's top of the German league?
Bayern.
Bayern
beat Hertha Berlin. They were actually lucky against Hertha Berlin. They won by 3-2. They were 3-0 up, I believe, at one stage and gave away 2 goals pretty quickly. And it was a crazy, crazy game. Sevilla have just drawn against PSV Eindhoven. And that means that Roma against Salzburg will take place. Roma disappointing this weekend in the Rome derby. Go ahead, James.
More really good teams knocking each other out. Like
this is a good draw.
Salzburg.
It's a good draw, James.
I mean, this competition is great. It's a top, like, really fun, especially I think, you know, if you're like a beat reporter or a fan who is planning on traveling to, you know, some of these games, you get a little bit off the beaten track. I loved going to Rennes when Arsenal were playing there. I thought that was a lovely little trip. And it all ends in Budapest for a nice long weekend you could make of it in the Hungarian capital.
Are you asking for a House of Champions on the road special for Europa League as well? I'm all for that.
Barcelona, Man United. House of Champions at Barcelona, Man United is
on a Thursday.
On a Thursday night. Exactly. The weekend starts there.
All right, let me rattle through the draw for you. It's just finished in the Europa League. Barcelona against Manchester United, the delightful tie that took place. And that was the first one to be drawn out of the hat. Would you believe it? Barcelona against Manchester United. Juventus against Nantes from France. Sporting Club de Portugal against Midtjylland. Shakhtar Donetsk against Rennes. Ajax Amsterdam against Union Berlin. Leverkusen against Monaco. Sevilla against PSV. And Salzburg against Roma. What happens next will be very interesting. And these ties, really, really looking forward to them. Obviously, the group winners of the Europa League are Arsenal, Betis, Fenerbahce, Ferencváros, Feyenoord, Freiburg, Real Sociedad, and Union Saint-Gilloise. They are all awaiting what happens in the knockout round. But these ties are delightful. And actually, Nigel reo-coker, they might be convincing me that it is probably a good idea to throw these teams down from the Champions League because there are some mouth-watering ties. Then I can only imagine House of Champions will be over on a Thursday.
But that's the whole point. I think that's why they revamped it. And I think for me, I know you disagree with Ian, but I think it does make this competition a lot more spicy. I mean, you look at some of these ties that you've already spoken about, and then obviously the teams have already qualified top of their group. It's going to be a great watch. It's hard not to watch this competition. And the way I actually compare it, my analogy of it is, yes, you've got the Premier League, the Champions League, but for me, this is the Championship. Anything is possible. There are no guaranteed winners in these fixtures because it's just a complete different kind of atmosphere. You're looking at different teams with different kind of builds in the sense of the team dynamic, where this competition is a lot more open, where some of your favorites will get knocked out, as we've seen before.
Really incredible ties here. Anything in particular outside of that Barcelona against Manchester United, James, that really catches your attention? Obviously, the lack of English teams when it comes to Europa League is clearly evident in this knockout draw.
They're both there. They're both still qualified.
I hear you, but I'm just talking about the knockout stages that the Thursday that they won't be in this tie. It's only Manchester United that are in there. From a German perspective, really looking forward to that Ajax against Union Berlin tie. I'm kind of hoping that Union Berlin can spring a surprise on this Ajax. We're talking about yesterday, Ajax losing to PSV Eindhoven at home in the Eredivisie. I think Schreuder now could be on a little bit of a hot seat when it comes to Ajax. They have won 1 of their last 5 home games. And now you welcome Union Berlin after that winter break, which is going to be very interesting. Any other tie that really stands out to you, though, James? I mean, there's some delightful ties to look forward to.
I really like the look of that Salzburg versus Roma tie. Roma, I think, to be honest, before the draw, were one of my top picks to go and win the whole thing. We've seen, obviously, how much value the Conference League had for them. Jose Mourinho, I don't think it matters to him now that it's not the Champions League. He loves those European nights. He loves those European trophies. This will be a really fascinating one. I know on our weekend previews as well, I always talk really highly of Roma. I think the results will start to will improve even more on where they've been. But obviously Salzburg as well, a talent factory. They're the ultimate. Who knows who will be in their lineup come come the knockout stages? Because if you're a top team and you're not looking at Noah Okafor, you're not looking at Junior Adamu, you're not looking at Luka Sucic, you're not doing your job well enough. So who knows what Salzburg will look like? But I think Roma are a team to really keep an eye out on. Also, Leverkusen, Monaco, that'll be really fun. Leverkusen could be a much better team with a few months of Xabi Alonso's tutelage. So I look forward to that one as well.
I think the same about Juventus. They're starting to get players back healthy again. They had a big win. Nigel predicted it over Inter this weekend. Did I happen to say it again? Let me say it louder. Nigel predicted a win this weekend for Juventus. But hey, Nigel, Juve, with players getting back healthy again, going through this knockout stage, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with when it comes to European competition in the end. Or am I wrong?
Well, no, you're right. I think James picked up my other game, which I was going to say was Leverkusen. Monaco is quite interesting. Monaco have always been consistent in this competition, but for me, Juventus nonce. And I think you look at Juventus's form right now, they've kind of got over this whole bad blip of results. Players are coming back now, and I think players have got an acceptance now that the manager's going to be there, whether they like it or not. And now they're starting to perform. And I think there's a togetherness coming about it that Juventus can be a real dark horse in this competition. I would say that Juventus really could go all the way, in my opinion.